So, guys, just wanted to say hi and thank you for joining. I really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday to further your career and learn more about research. So, today we have with us like Kaushik. He is one of my very close friends. He is an amazing researcher. This person has worked as a research lead and a postdoc researcher at University of Pittsburgh, which is one of the best universities in the world. And he is very published. I think whenever he shows his accolades or any awards, he undersells it because of just how humble he is. But he's written grants which have brought in like almost millions of dollars, and he is a genius at research. And he's even developed a software for you guys right now, which will help you publish, which is crazy. And that will be available, like he'll show you how to use it. And at the end of the webinar, we'll be giving the software away for free. Apart from that, we'll also have a guide for you by the end. But yeah, thank you, Kaushik. And I think you can take over, but you're in very good hands. And I'm watching as we go. Thank you.
Okay, let's hope Manik also learns some things. I'll ask Manik also questions. So, Manik, if you can maybe help monitor the chat, that might be great. Okay. So, anyways, hi everyone. I just wanted to start off with the topic, basically research for beginners, right? Kaushik, I've been doing research from quite some time. And when we started USMLE wise, we had a simple vision. Our goal, I would say my vision is to empower all my students to be better than me. That's my number one goal. And then what I want to do is we want to help you craft your application in a way so that you will not only become competent physicians where in the US, you will, I hope that you gain insight as to how research should be done from scratch. And with that, my goal is to make sure that you guys become great doctors and serve more patients sooner, right? Let's emphasize on the fact that I want you to become great physicians sooner. Now, what's the outline, right? Why should you listen to me? Hey, Manik told so many things. Someone who is an expert, whenever I sat and I listened to lectures that were given by experts, I mostly dozed off. I was never a good student and I had to make so many mistakes to figure out a lot of things on my own, right? So I'll cover why you have to listen to me, how I would do research starting now, what is research, why it's important. Then I will emphasize what is meaningful research. Next, once you have come up with a research topic, done all the work, how to submit your work to conferences, and in the end, how can you craft your research story in your ERAS application, right? Because everyone wants to match. And like I said, my promise to you, you leave with a draft, a 30-day plan, and we have a research scholarship that we have launched. And then I'll show a demo of the learning platform that I came up with for you to do research. And obviously, I'll be breaking down research to you in a way that, is easy for you to comprehend. Next, my experience, like I want to highlight, I love research. I've been doing it from so long now. I have over 9 years of research experience. I have gotten ICMR grants or national grants multiple times, and I've helped my colleagues also get those grants. I've got the state level grant. I think when I applied, out of 1,000 people, they gave it to 4 people. And now I'm on a pharma grant in the US. So I learned from amazing mentors. My first, I think, meaningful research experience was 3 years ago, or I think now it's 4 years ago, with my mentor at Duke. Now, currently, I'm at the University of Pittsburgh and I am serving as the chair of the Postdoc Association over here. And I also serve as a core member in the Clinical Trials Consortium, specifically in myositis. So, this is a bit about me. But what I am most proud of is I built a research program. My students, who are not even medical students, they are kids from high school, ninth grade, 11th grade, and they have published. So I just want to, for everyone who's here, if you are saying research is hard, my student is in ninth grade, right? So if a ninth grader can submit an abstract, I'm pretty sure you guys will do much better than a ninth grader. And this was the parent of my other student. She was in 10th grade when she joined me. And she completely published her application research, and she did not have to do anything fancy. We picked something that made sense and then we published it. So if you look at the work over here, we worked on this abstract with my ninth grade high school student, and then we submitted to a conference in Portugal. So this is GCOM. And then I also work with some medical graduates. Most of my work is with absolute beginners. So I also work with medical graduates, and we had submitted an abstract to the American College of Cardiology, and we are hoping that it gets accepted. This one will definitely get accepted. Second one, I don't know. We are hoping. Next. Let's start with understanding what research is. And I like this diagram, or I like this graph, because whenever I talk to kids or my juniors, they always change their lingo. So how I like to present this is very simple, right? Hey, what does anecdotes mean? Let's say your senior is telling, right? Trust me, bro, this is the advice that you need to follow. That is your anecdote. And then if you go to Reddit or pick one case, and then based on that one case, you form your hypothesis. That is your case report. Let's say you have 6 cases. And from those 6 cases, you are coming up with your hypothesis of what it should look like. That is your case series. Next, you have, okay, some preliminary studies. These are your pilot studies, right? They are testing your hypothesis. Next, you have good evidence, that is your randomized controlled trials. These are highly controlled, very robust, and then very difficult to do. So when they say RCT, I'm like, oh my God, they have come up with a lot of evidence to do RCT, right? Then on top of that, let's say I combine all these RCTs and I give an interpretation. Remember, the action word is always interpretation, right? So that is your systematic reviews. And on top of that is your meta-analysis. See, till now, I have not really done a lot of meta-analysis because it is obviously much harder. And I've always felt that it's easier. You have only so much energy, and how you invest that energy is up to you, right? So that is something that I have learned. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take you one step at a time and show you how easy research is and how to get into research, right? So when you have a research idea, what does a research idea look like? It's basically a question that you came up with. So let's go to our audience now. I will pick, can someone raise their hand? I have few questions. First question is, when you were in your rounds, was there a question that you asked your teacher? Some guideline didn't make sense or some treatment didn't make sense. Did you have any question to your teacher? So I'll ask, so was there any question that you had for your teacher?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I used to approach my teachers very often. I was really scared, but I feel like approaching helped me a lot. And yes, I did approach them very often.
So you approached your teachers, right? So what are the common cases that you see in your center?
Since I am a second year medical student, we didn't really start with clinical researches. We started with anatomical researches and
Oh,
researches basically. And for that, based on the papers that were published already in my state, I used to approach my faculties and find unique topics.
got it. Okay. So for finding topics, you had to go to your teacher and then you had to ask them, hey, this is a topic that, I could be interested in, and they gave you feedback, correct? So so at the core of research, what you are trying to find out is an answer to a question that you have. Right? It could be any question. If you're in first year, oh, why is it this way, right? What kind of evidence do we have? How can we draw interpretation? So that is basically your research. Next, what has made me successful with research is you need to really understand your audience. Correct? So let me ask you a question, something to think about. If I am writing a research proposal to a regulator, let's say FDA, versus I'm writing a research proposal that is being reviewed by my industry. So should I be emphasizing the same things or should I emphasize different things in different proposals? Obviously, I'll have to emphasize different things, right? If I'm going to write to the FDA, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to look after XYZ security. It's going to be robust, blah, 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 and all in terms of security and safety. Right? If I'm writing about pharma, I'm going to write more about, okay, promise of this outcome, etc. Right? So what I have understood about research is you really need to understand your audience. Who are the primary attendees you are targeting? So let's say we have few conference coming up, which I'm going to show an example of. And for that conference, all the people who are arriving at that conference are interested in geriatric medicine. Right? Now, let me ask the audience, can you submit a pediatric paper to a geriatric conference? Does it make sense? You can type on chat yes or no. So that's the way that I think about it, right? Then you ask yourself that, okay, hey, if I'm going to a geriatric conference, what are the topics that will be interesting to them? Next, of the topic that is interesting to them, is it creative and innovative? That is another topic. That's another thing that they care about, or that's another question that you should ask yourself when you are starting research. Next, most importantly, medical students, graduates, very busy, right? So because you're so busy, you should really think about how much time will your topic require. How much time will you take to do this research in the first place? And if you're investing so much time and energy, how much yield is it going to give you? Right? Now, what is the old way of doing research? Right? Let me show some demos. I always like demos. So, has the audience heard about PubMed? Yes or no? I will see the chat. You can put on chat. Yes or no? No. So, do we all know Google, right? Google.com? Yes. So, is Google, in Google, you are going to find, it's just a place to find other websites, right? What is role of Google? Now with AI, it's doing some crazy stuff, but what is the primary role of Google? It is just to point you towards other websites which are helpful. Now, if a website is not there on Google, are you going to trust the website? Yes or no? The website doesn't show up on Google. Will you trust the website? Yes or no? Correct. No. Yeah, exactly. Right. So same way is Google for research, right? Let's see, PubMed is not a journal, right? Everyone says, oh, I'm going to publish in PubMed. You are publishing in a journal, which is somewhere else. Now, if a journal is not in PubMed, then the quality of the journal might not be that good, right? That's it. That's all it means. So PubMed, so what's the difference? PubMed is like Google for journals. And if the journal is on PubMed, then I can tell that, okay, at least I can trust that this journal is good. Now let me come back to the audience. So we had, I think, Rashmita, who was our volunteer. We had a final year student.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Rashmi, right? So can you tell me what topic you want us to search? Any topic you're interested in?
Something related with intervertebral disc disease, IVDD.
Oh my God, that is so hard to type. Can you tell me something simpler? Anything simple?
Low backache, maybe.
Sorry, can you repeat? I don't think.
That's
Sorry?
safety and efficacy of
Skin aging.
Sorry?
Atherosclerosis.
Atherosclerosis.
We can go with
okay.
myositis.
Myositis is quite rare, but okay. I was told, don't say myositis in this, like, okay. So atherosclerosis, let's go to clinical trials. And then we can say, okay, risk factors for ischemic stroke, right? Let's say, I don't care, pick anything. So I'll pick a topic and I will say that, okay, we typed atherosclerosis and we arrived at a topic. So what did we do? We basically came to the Google of research and we were interested in a topic and then we entered it and then we picked some random study. Now, how do we know if a study is good or not. You will have to read the whole study. Right now, I'm very lazy. I don't like reading so much. So what I like to do is I try to look at the title. From the title, I will understand if the study is worth reviewing or not, right? Let me ask our volunteer. Can you read the title, Rashmi?
I can't see the screen actually.
Oh, is it visible for others or is it
I
only
can read
for?
it out if
Yes, it is
because I'm
Yes.
visible.
also a final year student.
Okay,
It is
sure.
visible. Yeah.
It reads as subclinical arteriosclerosis in young socioeconomically vulnerable Hispanic and non-Hispanic Black adults.
Okay, got it. Now, what I like to do in this title is I try to understand who is the intended population. Here, are you able to understand the intended population? The intended population is who? So you are looking at vulnerable, right? When they say socioeconomically vulnerable, can we simplify it? Simplify the language. I don't like it. So how would
It
you explain? Yeah.
it basically means the people who are basically considered to be below a certain level of economic stability, or can we say below poverty line individuals who do not have
Yes.
a fixed income, something along
Correct.
those lines.
Correct. So I would replace this word by, I like to look at the title. I will replace the word by below poor, poverty line or poor. In whatever
Mhm.
definition, I don't know, it's fine. You can define however you want. So poor people. Next, I look at, okay, they're looking at young, right? So this is also an action word. Now, if they say young, will I have older people in this study? No, it's only going to be young. Then they're
Yes.
more specific towards Hispanic and non-Hispanic Black adults. So they are clear about who their population is, right? Now, will I get white patients over here, Indian patients? No.
No,
Next, let me ask you, what do you know about atherosclerosis in poor people? Is it more common or less common?
it tends to be more common because people below poverty line, they do not have access to good nutrition, so it can lead to increased cholesterol levels, which is a very big predisposing factor for atherosclerosis.
Correct. Correct. So now let's say they tell you that, okay, hey, in this population, the likelihood the likelihood of finding atherosclerosis is very low.
Mm.
If that is the result, would it make sense?
Perhaps not. Depends on the findings. It
Yeah.
is a little hard to say.
Yeah, it is hard to say, but if in the result when they say that, oh, we did not find atherosclerosis in this population, so then the study would not make sense. Are we
Yeah.
clear on that? Correct?
Yes, it
So
does.
if they say that, it becomes a breakthrough, right? Because you have an
Right.
understanding of a concept that's saying that, oh,
Mm-hmm.
atherosclerosis in socially weak people or poor economic strata, they have high because of malnutrition. So that is
Exactly.
your basic understanding. Now, if you go through the result, you will find something similar. So look at the result. They say BMI. So the mean 10-year cardiovascular risk was 4.0 with no difference by racial or ethnic category. The overall prevalence of atherosclerosis was significantly higher in non-Hispanic Black population than the Hispanic population. So what are they telling you over here? So they have compared Hispanic and Black population, and they're saying that, hey, across the people who are lower socioeconomic status, you, on that sub-analysis, you are getting Black people who are being affected more. So could it be genetics?
It could.
It could be. So that is your result. Now, let me ask you a question. They have told about Black population, Hispanic population. What about Indian population
The
or any other?
studies
Yeah,
the study isn't significant for any population apart from Hispanics and blacks because it does not target them.
correct. Correct. So then they have told something. So what I'm trying to highlight over here is we got the gist of the study just by reading the title.
Exactly.
right? So you will get an understanding of what you're looking for. So what I do is I always look for the title and then I try to guess what the paper is supposed to tell me. Now, in the title only, they've told you subclinical atherosclerosis. Done.
Exactly.
So I know that you're going to find atherosclerosis. So that's how I read papers, right? So now let me go back. So what is the old way of doing research, right? I like the old way, not that I am against it. I like it because it is structured. It forces you to brainstorm topics based on your interests. Like we said, our volunteer told about vertebral disc prolapse or something. I was like, oh my God, that is too big to type. So I did not want to type it. Then that is something that she is interested in. So she has to perform the same activity, type the keyword that she is interested in, go to PubMed, and then figure out that what are people looking into, right? Then you have a very nice design for your literature review, right? What is that design? They call it a PICO framework. You try to look at the population, then you look at the intervention. What do you want to do? Do you just want to collect a questionnaire or ask them 5 questions? And what are the results of the question? So come up with the population. That was very important because like we said, Hispanic is different, Black is different, right? They have different needs and different representation. So who is your population? What is the intervention you're doing? And then do you have a comparison group or not? Then you finally come up with outcomes. So you go to, like I showed you, you have this idea in your head and then go to PubMed, right? Or else you're going to get lost. Now you say that, okay, hey, I have an idea. I figured out that this is something that I'm interested in. Then I saw some meta-analysis, I studied, and I found out that, okay, this is an interesting topic, right? So now I will tell you what are the things that I learned over the years, which made a little bit more sense to me. So globally, what was important? The context of interest, that is, who is the population and what is the outcome, right? As long as have defined that very clearly, we are good to go, right? Now, when I say outcome, what are the different types of outcomes that I can measure? So let's take an example, right? Let's say a patient has developed absent seizures. Can the patient describe his seizures to you? He has absent seizures, meaning he won't know, right? So would he be able to describe the nature of his seizures to you? Yes or no? Can you
No,
type on the chat?
absolutely not. Absolutely
Exactly.
not.
So in that case, if you're going to the patient and you're asking the patient, oh, tell me about your seizure, tell me about your seizure, is it a right tool? No. So in that case, you have to ask the bystander or someone else, and that becomes your observer reported outcome. So this is apart from your clinician, someone who saw the case and then they are telling you their interpretation of it. Again, it is their interpretation. Next, what else do you have? You are a clinician or you're a medical student, a patient comes to you and you are evaluating. The clinician is basically evaluating the case and then he's reporting certain things that, okay, I saw icterus. Will the patient ever say that I have grade 3 icterus? No. So that becomes your clinician reported outcome. So whatever clinician is reporting, that is your clinician reported outcome. And then you have something called a performance outcome measure. So what does performance mean? Let's say I want to figure out the strength of the individual, right? I ask them to lift 1 kg arm, 1 kg dumbbell, or I ask him to perform some activities. Based on his performance, I'm going to grade his activity. So that becomes your performance outcome measures. Now, all these, someone else was observing the patient, right? Now what the FDA is telling you is, okay, you have done everything. I want you to ask the patient about their lived experience, right? I like to highlight. My mom used to always tell this to me. She's, oh, if you get hurt a little bit, you will cry more than your sister. So basically, for the same level of disease activity, right? Same level of disease activity, each patient will have a different experience of pain or different experience. Correct? So that is something And that is the main reason why patient-reported outcome is important. Right? So we understood what different outcome measures are. Now let's come to another student. So can anyone volunteer to give me an example of a observer reported outcome? We already said epilepsy, so that's done. Anything else?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Ruhi.
Perhaps we can look at a patient on a treadmill stress test. For example, we're trying to assess a patient who has a heart failure, preserved
Mhm,
ejection fraction, reduced ejection fraction. We're going
mhm.
to assess their response to a cardiac stress test by maybe making them walk on a treadmill or
Mhm.
prescribing them drugs so that we can increase their heart rate, something along those lines.
Okay, so what outcome measure would that be?
Perhaps
Well,
physician reported outcome, clinician reported outcome.
so if you are making them run on a treadmill, that will be you are evaluating the performance of the individual, right? So that
Yes.
in that when you're making them do a task, it becomes a performance outcome measure. Does it make sense? So any task, when you ask the patient to do any task and then you write the results of that task, then it becomes a performance outcome measure. Yeah.
A teacher reporting a child with ADHD symptoms.
Yeah. That is your observer reported outcome. Great.
Or maybe patients who are vocally impaired.
Dementia, maybe.
Yes,
Okay, so
dementia and
what I would
Alzheimer's.
recommend, if you can type on the chat, that would be great, right? Yes, great ideas. So you guys are coming up with amazing outcome measures, right? So now keep that in your mind. Cognitive decline, right? So cognitive decline, yes, it can be multiple things, right? You can have someone else giving the observation. So let's take cognitive decline. Someone mentioned that in chat. So the daughter can observe cognitive decline, right? The daughter will say, oh, my mother was able to remember so many things, and then now she's not able to perform certain activities. That is one thing. So that becomes your observer reported outcome. Then they come to the psychiatrist. And psychiatrists like Dr. Manik will evaluate the patient, and then they will say that, okay, you have Montreal scoring or whatever cognitive scoring, and I have a score and I've quantified how much cognitive decline this patient has, right? That becomes your clinician reported outcome. So you can have the same experience or the same observation in different outcome measures, right? It depends on who's doing it and what you're using to come up with it. Now, let's come to the second topic, right? What is the second topic? What FDA really says, okay, two things, concept of interest and context of use. What is concept of interest? This is the exact thing you're measuring. You can't say that, okay, hey, I am measuring syncope and I am relying on the patient giving me, or I am measuring epilepsy, right? Absent seizures, and I am relying on the patient giving me answers on how they are having absent seizures, right? That doesn't make sense. So, what is concept of interest? Exact issue that you are measuring in the patient population. Again, remember, it has to be very precise. One thing I've seen students do is not be specific, right? Then what is your context of use? I came up with this example, which is very interesting. So when you will use running shoes for jogging or running, right? But you're not gonna use that in a swimming pool, right? It doesn't make sense. So the same thing, if a tool is validated in a particular context, right? Let's take any tool and it is for adults, right? You can't use the same survey for kids. Let me give you another example. Many of you are from India, Pakistan, and other regions. How many of your patients will know what 1 gallon of milk is? Say yes or no. If you say that, okay,
Not a
yes, my
lot.
patients, not a lot. Now,
Not a lot.
if the West is telling you that, hey, to capture this concept of interest, to capture an outcome measure in your patient population, one of the question is, can you lift 1 gallon of milk? Does that question make sense in India? No, the patient will be like, what are you even talking about? So that is another level of validation. So that is the context of use, correct? Now we will understand how clinical outcome assessments are designed and how important it is to understand with respect to a regulator and starting off research on the right foot, right? So without understanding the disease or the condition, does it make sense to do research? No, you should have a basic understanding of the condition. Let's pick diabetes or let's pick hypertension, right? In most cases, you understand what these conditions are, right? So first, start off with the basic understanding. Next, what is the second thing that you should have? You should conceptualize, okay, when you are doing an intervention or when you are doing a study, what are the potential benefits and potential risks that are associated with it? I will give you a little bit more example, but yeah, I will. So that's the second thing that they want you to come up with. Next, they are saying that, okay, hey, you picked your population, let's say Desi population, Indian population, or Pakistani population, right? And then we decided on the disease like heart failure, right? What is the one of the ways to measure heart failure? Ejection fraction. Okay, I picked ejection fraction as an outcome tool, and then I picked heart failure, and now I'm ready to do my study, right? So what they're saying is, when you pick heart failure as an outcome assessment tool, you should understand, is it fit for purpose? What was fit for purpose? We saw in example of epilepsy, right? We noticed that, okay, hey, don't ask the patient about absent seizures. Makes no sense. So that is what fit for purpose means, right? And they've come up with a very nice guidelines. So select one of the outcome measures. We saw four, you pick one. And then you don't come up with your own questions, right? Now I have an interesting thought and I want, the volunteers to answer. When you have anyone in the group, when you have done any survey based studies, has anyone done any survey based studies in the group, in our audience?
Yeah.
You can just type yes.
Yes, I have.
So when you did the survey based study, did you come up with your own questions?
No, we were given a set number of questions by the study moderator and told to survey the patients according to those questions.
So who came up with those questions?
It was basically a survey on hypertension in the adult population of the country where I am studying medicine in. It was a drive that was conducted to understand the prevalence of high blood pressure or the understanding of high blood pressure as a disease and a concept amongst the general population.
Okay. So did you use any particular survey tool, or was it some questions that your professor had come up with?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
Oh, were the list of questions some things that your professor came up with?
I believe he referred to a series of guidelines that the WHO put out. I'm not really sure, but what I do know is he came up with the questions wording themselves so as to be more accessible to the population where we were conducting the survey. But there was some sort of academic, I should say, underlying basis for it, but I don't think that's the right term.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. So what I'll do is I will mute everyone and then you can unmute when needed. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Now I will tell you how to pick the questions, right? So you need to search in literature saying that, hey, to measure this particular concept, it could be stroke or it could be whatever that you guys want to measure. Does a tool already exist? If a tool exists perfectly for your population, your everything, please don't innovate. Just use the tool and report it. Done. Happy. Now let's say we have a tool that is only present in adults. We want to use it in kids, right? Now what to do? This is a tool that is most similar to which has been shown that it is validated in adult condition. But for pediatrics, we don't have anything. So we take the adult tool and then we make certain modifications, like how one of your students said, right? One of the person over here, she was like, hey, we made some modifications to it. So that is what you are modifying your outcome assessment tool to make it clear, and you need to have justification for that modification, right? This is now the more changes you make, the more evidence you need to rack up, and you need to be more robust in your methodology, right? So as students, what I would like to tell you, one big takeaway is please don't change the tools. Use the tools that are already there because they will not be doubting you or your expertise. They will, if they have a query, they'll have a query on the tool that you have used, right? Makes sense? So that is the takeaway that I want to give you. Now, if there is no outcome assessment tool, it's a very rare disease. No one knows what to do. In that case, you have to develop a tool and you need to come up with empirical evidence. Here, FDA is very particular about the amount of evidence you need to have, and it's a lot, right? So this is highly discouraged. So I would say level 1 is for students. Level 2 is for your assistant professors or professors in your centers. And level 3 is for experts and leaders in the field. So these are the 3 ways that I had in my mind, right? That made sense to me. Now, once you have come up with your construct, once you have constructed your fit for purpose clinical outcome assessment tool, then you go ahead, start your clinical trial or your observational study. And the most important thing, and I can tell you, most studies have missed this, right? What is that? Asking the patient, does it have a meaningful change for you? Let me ask a question. So does everyone here know about in appendicitis, you have that McBurney's point, right? Can you type yes or no? McBurney's point?
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I like to give this example is, let's say, just think of a scenario, right? You have a patient and they have lower abdominal pain, and then you go and he has appendicitis, right? Has appendicitis, you go and palpate at the McBurney's point. He will experience a lot of pain. So he will be like, okay, hey, I went with pain. The doctor knew exactly where to touch. Right? And then because I felt pain, now the doctor is suggesting, hey, come to the operation. He will go ahead with the operation. Agreed? Now let's take another scenario. Instead of palpating at the McBurney's point, you are going to palpate at the left lower side or left upper side. Then the patient will not feel that extra pain. And at that time, when you ask the patient, okay, hey, can you come for surgery? Is he more likely or less likely to come for surgery?
Definitely a lot less likely.
Exactly, right? So what have we done through this exercise? We understood and we came up with a logic to like why the patient has to listen to you. Same thing FDA is also asking. Hey, you are coming up with tools. You have established a clinical trial. And have you asked the patient, is this meaningful to you? Is this a meaningful change? Let me give you another example. You have a disease. I don't want to use the word dermatomyositis, but okay. You have a disease, dermatomyositis, with presents as a skin rash, right? Now, skin rash is the thing that goes at the end. So for a person, how they appear is might be more important with respect to their disease activity. As a physician, you will be like, hey, I treated the patient is not dying anymore, right? They're getting better. And the patient will be like, hey, I have this disease, but the doctor is giving me treatment. The treatment is not reducing my skin rash. So they might not feel like the treatment is meaningful enough. So this is what you have to capture in your study. So going forward, all of you should promise me, right? Any study you're doing, make sure you include one question. Is there meaningful change in the disease activity or whatever, right? And then the FDA has come up with another nice thing, right? When people tell me, oh, when you have pain, right? You have pain scale 1 to 10, right? In that case, the patient can say, okay, you will ask, right? Rate pain on a scale of 1 to 10. The patient will say 7, 8, blah, blah, blah. And when you have these numbers, they're a little bit harder to interpret because you have to come up with cutoff, etc., right? But what is easier? If you ask the patient, oh, are you having mild pain, moderate pain, severe pain? So even though it is not very objective, because these things are easier to interpret, you have to go with the first option, the easier option, right? And when you go with the easier option, you don't have to come up with more evidence. Again, remember, you always have to have evidence, but that evidence should not be questioned by others, right? So even though your evidence is easy, even though evidence is simple, it has to be meaningful and it has to make sense, right? So that is the something that I learned, right? Now let's have our volunteer and I'll go over whatever I showed you, right? So can we have another volunteer?
I can volunteer. My name is Ruhi Khan. I am a final year medical student studying medicine, and I'd be happy to volunteer. I'm sorry, I think you're muted, sir. I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. So what topic are you interested in, Ruhi?
Can we talk about, say, diabetic screening maybe for an easier topic to discuss? Diabetic screening, perhaps? An easier topic?
Diabetic screening for what? So just diabetic screening. Okay.
Diabetic screening in the context of patients who have history of hypothyroidism.
Okay. So diabetic screening and hypothyroidism. Is there any link between hypothyroidism and diabetes?
Some literature says yes, definitely there is.
Can you give me any link that you can think of?
I'm sorry, I cannot at this point, but I do remember.
Just think meta ideas, right? When I say link, it could be as simple as, hey, autoimmune.
Hypothyroidism is going to reduce your basal metabolic rate. It's going to reduce the burning of food, and basically it's going to reduce the consumption and synthesis of glucose. So it's going to promote storing of glucose in that way, and it's going to increase blood sugar levels, and that can dispose a person to higher blood sugars and then later lead to diabetes mellitus, something along those lines maybe.
Okay, so one of the things that, so we just put diabetic screening, and then if you look at the wording, it has given you an option. It has told you what to do. So you must refine our terminology, right? In diabetic screening, it is a clinical action, not an outcome measure. That's okay, right? We measure how a patient feels or function during that action. To create a valid protocol, you must identify your concept of interest. That is, what are we measuring within a defined context of use? That is, who are we measuring? Based on the current USPSTF guidelines, the most viable research path is to psychological impact or barriers faced by at-risk adults during the screening process. Do you think this is a good topic?
Yes, it could be, definitely.
Okay, now it is saying that, okay, let's go with this. So we started with a very vague term, that is diabetic screening. Then it gave us some ideas, right? It said that, okay, hey, screening might be too vague. So let's make it a bit more specific. Yes. And how I have trained this, I'll tell you. What I had done was I have uploaded data from research protocols that my mentors had made me write. They have critiqued for a long time, and it is based on their writing style, as well as I made sure that any answer it is giving us is based on the updated 2025 FDA guidelines. So now it has told, okay, this addresses a critical gap identified in our literature search. While general barrier survey exists, the FDA requires a specific concept of interest for labeling claims. Barriers is too broad. We must distinguish between internal symptoms, that is, fear of diagnosis, fatalism, which are true PROs, with external factors, that is, transportation cost, which are patient reported experiences. So what do you want to focus on?
Perhaps maybe we can talk about, like I said, patients have a certain fear of being diagnosed or misdiagnosed. For example, a patient who has a history of hypothyroidism, they go to a doctor and they feel or they fear that they are at risk of diabetes, but they do not have the, can we say, courage or the confidence to approach the doctor and say, hey, I feel like I am at a risk for diabetes. Can we be screened for diabetes? Something along those lines.
Okay, got it. So I think we wanted it to be a bit more specific, and I should have written that, but okay, we can obviously add it. So you want to find out, your research question is, you have a patient who is hypothyroid and they are worried about screening because for diabetes, correct? because they think that whatever issues or whatever fears they have. Am I getting you right?
Basically, there is a certain stigma amongst patients, and in the current climate, there is a lot of distrust around the medical profession in general. And basically, there are a lot of patients who feel like if they approach a doctor with a valid concern, even if they say, okay, I'm having pain, they'll be dismissed by the doctor. Okay, you're just fine, just take some medicine or just move on with your pain. And then suddenly it turns out to be something really severe. So, a patient who has been living with a chronic autoimmune condition, say Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, even we can even talk about the wider thyroid spectrum in general. They're worried that, okay, apart from the thyroid, there's something else very severely wrong with me, and I want to be screened. But the doctor or the clinician who is looking at the patient, they're looking at the labs, they're looking at the forest for the trees rather than, so they're going to be like, okay, I don't think you're at risk for diabetes, I don't think you need to be screened, that kind of a concept. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and it has given some recommendation. I got an idea of where you're going. And then if you look at mistrust, right? So you have more clarity, right? That, hey, okay, when I say mistrust, this is what it means. So there are two options that you have. Either you can put in your idea of mistrust, or it has given you what what it means by barriers and what we can measure as a primary endpoint. Right? Mistrust, like you said, is mostly novel and high impact area. It is addressing the FDA's priority of enhancing diversity, but it requires tool selection, right? What is a tool that you can use to measure mistrust, right? That is your group based medical mistrust scale. So this is a scale you can use to assess what is the level of mistrust a patient has, right? Then the second one is anxiety is safer and easier to measure, but less innovative. So you can decide what you want to pick.
I'd rather go with the mistrust angle because, like I said,
Okay.
I am interested in general medicine along with psychiatry, and it really explores how we as clinicians tend to sometimes, in the larger interest of looking at medicine as a series of data points, we sometimes have a tendency to ignore and not pay attention to patients and what they're feeling. Sometimes we can dismiss them as hysterical and things like that. But if we can make the whole process of medicine more holistic and less paternalistic and more patient focused, we can listen to people and be like, okay, you have a concern, that's totally valid, let's explore more of it. And instead of saying, okay, you're a little overthinking this, just calm down, it's going to be okay.
Yes, makes sense. So that's a good idea. So what does this fall into? Now let's type in what you said, right? There was very interesting idea. So physicians are discounting the issues.
Lived experience.
Correct. The lived experience of patients with hypothyroidism and diabetes.
Yes.
Hypothyroidism, which is leading to some mistrust. What is the best course of action? In which region? Are we in India? What region are we in? Pakistan?
Southeast Asia.
Southeast. Okay. Southeast Asia. So basically, it does fall under the realm of your social determinants of health, right? Again, remember, even if you write a simple letter to editor or a simple article saying that, hey, this is an issue that I'm seeing and etc., it's still good. It's very valid. So it is going to generate. And in the meantime, it will be refining your title topic and then what you should write in your protocol, right? In the prompts that we had given, it did mention that, okay, we are quantifying group based now. Okay. The impact of unresolved symptom burden on medical mistrust in Southeast Asian patients with hypothyroidism and diabetes. Now, this is a bit vague, right? It will give you some interpretation. So there are some tools. You have identified a significant gap. The search result confirms that while tools exist for symptoms, no validated tool specifically measures physician discounting, right? In Southeast Asia, in FDA terms, we cannot validate a context of use without a fit for purpose tool. To avoid the generic error of creating your own unvalidated survey, I would recommend a bridging strategy. We should measure symptom burden, that is the lived experience, right? Using a validated PRO. You have your Thai PRO and correlate it with medical mistrust. So this is a strategy that it has given you. What does this allow you to do? It allows you to mathematically prove that when symptoms are ignored, trust declines. Hypothyroidism is a strong candidate here, as patients frequently have normal labs but severe symptoms, leading to high rates of physician discounting. Did this make sense, Ruhi?
Yes, it did. It did actually.
Yeah. Now I'll be like, okay, hey, focus on hypothyroidism and trust care. It only gave you recommendation. See, all even if we would have started with this, right? It will give you, okay, what does the FDA look at your concepts and what you need to be thinking about when you have to draft your own protocol and draft your own research, right? And how this has helped me is, okay, whenever students have come to me, they have asked me to help them with their research, blah, blah, blah. And there are different phases, right? Everyone will have their project at different phase. The common theme that I had seen with the students were there is no amount of good writing that can fix poor methodology. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
So I could not do anything. So I never took on projects. Anyways, now let's look at what it has told, right? This is a strong FDA aligned pivot. By choosing the Thai PRO 39, you are utilizing the gold standard for thyroid quality of life, which solves the validity problem for the symptom side of the equation. Now, regarding the trust scale, search results confirm a critical gap. Again, there is no validated hypothyroidism specific trust scale. To fix the protocol, we will pair this with a validated generic trust tool like your Wake Forest physician trust scale. We must now define the context of use. Strictly physical discounting and mistrust occurs more frequently when a patient has normal labs but still feels sick. Therefore, I recommend restricting your population to symptomatic euthyroid patient, right? So now what have we done? We have taken your idea and it has told, okay, to really answer your question of physician mistrust or physician discounting, this will happen logically. It makes sense, right? If thyroid values are normal and patient is telling I'm not feeling that well or I'm feeling tired, physician will be like, oh, you're just feeling low, right? So
Exactly.
that is physician discounting. So now if I
That's
have
exactly
proved,
what I wanted to talk about. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Generally, as physicians, especially from countries like Southeast Asia, like India, Pakistan, and a
Mhm,
lot of the other countries, physicians
mhm,
have a certain intellectual authority over patients where we tend to talk down to patients. And it creates a very significant care gap because not only are we discounting the lived experience of the patient, we're not understanding the other symptoms that this very real, very prevalent disease can present as. We can instead of simply saying, okay, you're just feeling tired, we should be like, okay, what are the other symptoms? That is what I really
exactly,
wanted to talk about.
exactly. So that's what it is pointing you towards, right? It's telling you that, hey, you need to refine your idea and then you come up with your topic. And now we are through this exercise, what are we doing? We are arriving at a better, more interesting topic that can be published, citable, right? Now they're saying that, okay, hey, what is our biomarker? You have zeroed in and where the conflict between biomarkers and patient experience is the strongest. So what did we capture? We captured two things, that is the lab test and the patient's feeling, right? As noted in the search, no high quality evidence, which makes your descriptive study highly valuable. Furthermore, this population is most at risk of switching to unapproved animal derived thyroid products because they feel ignored. So that is what it is telling you, right? So they are saying that, okay, this is a big concern. So you have to really go ahead and do your research. And then it is saying that, okay, if possible, add a control group, if possible. So then there are some options that you have. Either you want to add a control group if this will make your study a little bit harder, or you just only capture the symptomatic group. To keep it easy, we will go with only the symptomatic group. It's going to refine your protocol to highlight, okay, only this group. In the meantime, is this interesting? Does anyone else have any question? Does anyone else have a no, this platform I built it. So we'll give it to you, no
Hi,
issues. Yes.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I was really interested. How did you train this model? What was,
Sorry, can you ask
yeah, how did you train the model?
what model?
Hello, can you? This,
Yes.
this app, how did you train it?
Oh, you are asking how I made the app?
I know, how did you train it? Yeah, how did you train it? Like,
How did I train it? How did I train it? Okay, okay. So
and what were your
basically,
user cases? And what were
sorry,
your user cases?
what was the?
What were your user cases?
Okay, so I mean, for some reason I was not able to hear you clearly, but I think I got an idea of how I trained this model. So basically, the issue with ChatGPT is simple, right? It is assuming that you know what you're doing, right? The issue with ChatGPT, it assumes that you know what you're doing. Then I was like, okay, how do I make it more structured with respect to what questions need to be asked? So I came up with a way where I told that, okay, this is the format that we want. See, any protocol should be written in a particular format, right? There is no big change or things that you should do for that particular protocol. Okay, that's a fact. Like you should not, with research, there are patterns. You stick to that pattern, don't change it. So I already have a predefined pattern on what needs to go where and what is important. Then you have the updated FDA guidelines. So anytime you are asking a question, this model is going to the FDA guidelines, and then it is saying that, okay, is the current protocol in line with the FDA guidelines, right? So that is something that it is doing. Next, I will show you, right? Because that's why it takes some time. So it's going to all these references and then it is reviewing it, right? Now we had some idea. It said that, okay, you came up with a symptomatic euthyroid group and you're looking at burden of illness. It is a descriptive cohort. When you say descriptive cohort, you are very clear. You are not doing any intervention as such. So then it is the app. It is accepted under this particular guidance document. So as long as you are telling what symptomatic means, it's good enough. And we must use the PRO tool itself as an inclusion criteria to ensure FDA accepts your data as robust. I have added a very simple question, right? Patient global impression of severity. This is a tool. I agree it's a tool. It's a single question and that's it. Just by adding that, you can improve the validity of your study, right? Now we have come up with mostly, what to do. Then I'll hit critique my protocol over here. And what this does in critiquing the protocol is it will try to figure out that, hey, are there any logical gaps or logical issues in my study? Right now, coming back to, hey, how did we come up with this tool and how did we build this tool? Like I mentioned, my mentors have ran couple of RCTs, right? And they've written couple of protocols. So there's some things that I took from them. Then I trained the model based on their data. Then I also have my own protocols that I've written and the guides that we have made with respect to that information, and that's how we made it. Now with the critique for the protocol, right, it has told the strength. Now we have defined symptomatic euthyroid phenotype, that is your concept of interest in, right? And then you have come up with a rationale, good rationale. Mistrust is an issue, so that is the thing. Now what are some areas of improvement? It's saying that, okay, you're restricting to a particular thing and it creates a selection bias that eliminates the variance required for the proposed correlation. Then you say that, okay, the concept of interest specifically identifies intent to switch to unapproved therapy and non-adherence. Yet the COA selection fails to list the validated instrument on specific item bank to measure these behavioral endpoint. So what I do is I take the feedback from here, and then I will say incorporate the feedback. Yeah. So what this tool does is it will help you it will help you start research, right? It will help you come up with ideas in a systematic way, and then you can sit with it and you can ask it questions. So it is an assistant to form a research question. I would say one of the challenges that I had faced as a medical student was when I took a research topic, I did not have a good idea on what I should be asking. Right? I didn't know what questions I should be asking or what are the things that I should know. So because of that, I never really got to do the type of research that I wanted to do. That was a thing that I felt. Anyways, now since we made that small fix, I'm gonna ask it to create a full grant. So there are two options that I've given, either a short grant or a full grant, and it is going to create a full grant. Now, again, like I want to highlight, when it says create a grant, this is based on my mentor's format, and she has got few multi-million dollar grants. So she's very robust in her writing. So I like the way that she writes. So that's the reason why I in trained the model to replicate her writing style. Now, again, remember, this is still AI, right? You still have to use your brain. There is no substitute to your ideas. There is no substitute to your brain. The only thing that it can do is it can guide you with respect to how you should be thinking about a research question. Now, one of the main reasons I came up with this was because I was like, hey, people ask me, right? People keep asking me, okay, how to come up with so many ideas? I only sit with ideas. Every morning I get up, I will have 10 ideas. And people keep asking me, oh, my biggest problem is I don't have a good research idea. That is not possible. So now it has come up with a draft, right? Now I'll show you how it reads. Let's ask Ruhi to read this. Ruhi, can you read this?
Yeah, definitely. Hypothyroidism affects over 5% of the US population, with levothyroxine LT4 monotherapy serving as the gold standard of care. Despite biochemical restoration of euthyroid, normal TSH, approximately 10 to 15% of treated patients suffer from persistent debilitating symptoms, including fatigue, cognitive fog, and weight gain. Current clinical guidelines dismiss these symptoms as non-thyroidal in origin once TSH is normalized. This discordance between perfect labs and poor quality of life creates a volatile clinical dynamic. Patients feel invalidated, lose trust in their providers, and increasingly abandon standard care in favor of unregulated, quote unquote, natural or off label therapies. Example desiccated thyroid extract, high dose T3, etc. The magnitude of this behavioral shift is unknown, but the public health risk is imminent. Non-adherence to LT4 leads to overt hypothyroidism, dyslipidemia, and cardiovascular risk. Conversely, unmonitored switching to alternative therapies risks iatrogenic thyrotoxicosis and atrial fibrillation. The critical gap in our knowledge is the precise relationship between specific symptom domains, example, cognitive versus somatic, the erosion of physician trust, and the behavioral decision to abandon standard care. We currently lack data that treats symptom burden not just as a quality of life metric, but as a predictor of high risk health behaviors. The main goal of this proposal is to quantify how symptom burden in euthyroid patients drives medical non-adherence and the intent to switch to unapproved therapies. We utilize the FDA-aligned ThyPro 39 PRO, patient reported outcome, to capture symptom variants and correlate it with validated behavioral endpoints.
So how does this read?
I'm sorry, what?
How does this read as a protocol writing method?
It reads like a really good abstract. It reads like the starting of a really promising abstract for a really interesting research idea.
Correct. So this is what you do. And let's say, hey, there are certain things that you don't like, right? You just say, change those sentences. You have a format and you have a structure, right? So you need to go back and you need to say that, okay, this is the structure that is good. Now there might be things that I don't like. There might be things that I want to change, and then go sentence by sentence and make those particular changes, right? So you will never be wrong, right? And then you have your aim 1, you have aim 2, and then aim 3, and then impact of all your hypotheses. Then you are quantifying the burden, and then you are telling what is the innovation. This is the symptom and behavior link, right? And then you have your study population, your inclusion criteria, the tools that you're going to use, and statistical analysis plan, right? Now, I do say that, okay, see, for statistical analysis, see, it's a very simple problem, right? I know India, it is like 5,000 rupee problem. So don't think about that. The main problem is use your brain to come up with better ideas. And now let's say you take this proposal and go to your physician. Most people tell me that, hey, Dr. Kaushik, I have another issue, right? My physician is not interested in doing research, right? What can I do? I will tell you a simple answer. You go to them and tell them that, hey, I have this protocol, right? I'm very interested in this, right? Now, here is what I need your help. What is that help? Of the patients that you are treating, I will come whenever, I will come whenever I'm free, maybe 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there in a day. And then I will ask your patients 40 questions. You don't have to do anything. I will ask the 40 questions. Now, what else you should do? You should write the interpretation, right? Now, if you go with this proposal, is your clinician or is any doctor going to say no?
No, of course not. That you're like reducing their work and increasing their awareness of their community which they're treating. So it's a two
Yeah,
for one for them actually.
exactly. So then I don't know. So whenever I used to be in my medical school, none of my proposals ever got rejected. None of my proposals. I've done patent transfer. I've come up with whatever ideas. So in my medical school, the ethics committee people, they told me this. See, you are not doing any intervention, right? So I'm not too worried. So you come up with any proposal, sit with me and talk to me saying that what is the rationale. I will give you some input, right? You implement that input, it is good for you. So it was always a win-win environment, right? So that is something that I felt. And I always felt that, okay, hey, you have amazing clinicians wherever you are from. You have amazing clinicians. Get their expertise. You tell them you will do the hard work. You go back and you read all the things that are required for you to know. And then you will be able to get your meaningful study out of this. Exactly. Like a student will do all the work. One thing that I never let any professor do was any work that I did, they had to make sure that they credited me. And I used to ask the same thing. I'm like, hey, if I have to work with you, there should be a reason, right? You have to make my life very easy, right? So this is my clear expectation from you. These are your deliverables to be my mentor, right? If you can't do that, then, I'll find another person, right? So that's how it worked. So I had an amazing time with my research mentors. I will never give first author. Nope. I will find another physician who will be ready to let me be the first author because, hey, I did all the work. My brain, my idea, my topic. Why should I give first author? We came up right now, Ruhi. Isn't this topic very innovative?
It does. It addresses a really glaring discrepancy and a glaring absence in the current medical literature. Like, how do we navigate a system where patients are coming up to you and saying, okay, you don't trust me anymore, you don't listen to me anymore. So that's a very
Yes,
interesting way to approach medical research, to put the patient first rather than to look at the convenience of doctors first.
exactly. Exactly. And you just started with that idea, right? And it gave you a good framework to start. Do you agree, Ruhi?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And it can be for anything. Now, we can replicate this for anything. So that is what I like to do, right? So I said that, okay, now if you look back at my slides, we did go over most of our points. We said that, okay, in the older way, you had to come up with your PICO design, intervention, blah, blah, blah. Now, all you did was you learned about the different outcome measures that are out there that are important. Then you said that, okay, the difference between concept of interest and context of use. And then now you have come up with an amazing protocol, which makes a lot of sense. And the most important thing, Ruhi is interested in this study. Do you agree, Ruhi? If
Yeah,
you're interested
definitely.
in the study, you're going to continue the study and you're going to complete the study. And when I was starting off, the bigger challenge that I faced was this is what my mentor told me. He told, do you want to get published or do you want to do what you like with respect to research? At that time, I told where I was like, sir, I want to get published.
Honest answer from
So
a
he told,
student.
forget about this psychology, psychiatry you're talking about. Just do tuberculosis research. You will get published. So I started with tuberculosis research. So now I will tell at that time we did not have this good AI, right? And stuff. So when he showed me that, okay, if you want to do your psychiatry research, your ICMR is not going to accept. So don't do such things. It is good advice. It is good advice. And like he said, I got published in TB research. So I got 3 papers under him. I'm very thankful to him. I learned a lot from him. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that. Next, you came up with your protocol. You came up with a justification. All you have to do is you have to make 1 or 2 slides for your IRB and then you submit it. Done, right? And they will give you approval and you will be good to go with your study. Then we come to our abstract write-up, right? So what did I tell you initially in the first few parts? I told that you always have to write your protocol or your research in a way that the other person wants to read and they care about it, right? So what are abstracts? Abstracts doesn't mean that you have fully formed project, right? That's an abstract, right? You have started, you have a very good protocol, amazing protocol, I love it. Now you come to a conference, take your protocol and you say that, hey, I've enrolled 10 patients already. Then people will look at your paper and your study and they will ask you questions and they'll give you ideas. A poster presentation or a conference is to get the experts in the room with you so that they can give you input. Now, Ruhi, let's say you meet an expert like this in the field that you are presenting, right? You go to the autoimmune, since you said autoimmune and I'm in rheumatology, you'll come to ACR, right? American College of Rheumatology. You will present your abstract and then one of the experts will say, hey, can you maybe at the end of every patient collect 2 more questions, right? Ask them that, okay, some suggestions, blah, blah, blah. Now, there can be a modification that you can make, right, in your research paper.
Sure, why not? If we can collaborate, it's better to have more minds working towards something that's gonna benefit people.
Exactly. So now let me ask you another question. There will be another colleague of yours, maybe from Africa, maybe from another region, and they'll be like, hey, Ruhi, this seems like a very interesting topic. My patients also feel the same. Can we do a multi-centered study? You do from your center, I will do from my center. We both will combine our brains and we both will publish. That's another opportunity, right? That is so what did you, yeah, so you go to a conference to open up these opportunities for you. Now, this is a interesting thing. Again, I am going to share again, all the links will be shared only for people who stayed back, right? And people who know how to use it. So if you have other priorities, I get it. Maybe in another webinar I will give, but I'm very particular about it. Okay, now let's look at the countdown, right? You have around 10 days for the SGIM conference. And this is your around 12 days. They ask you to submit your abstracts, right? And they could be in different stages. And if you can attend, that is great, right? So let me tell you what they care about and what is typically accepted as an abstract. Initially, we discussed that, okay, hey, abstract is not a fully executed all data collection done. That is not only the goal of abstract, it's also to get input and feedback, right? So let's go to the submission guidelines over here. So at every conference, they will have a statement. What do they care about? Individual voices, collective theme, advocating for excellence in academic medicine. Right? Ruhi, let me ask you a question. In academic medicine, you want the patient's voice to be heard, right?
In collaboration with the people who are advancing medical literature, definitely.
Yes. So it is important, right? So if you are getting the voice of the patient as your data or your input, it is a very important, it aligns with the theme so that it will definitely advance academic medicine, right?
Definitely.
So that is good. That's good enough for me, right? Then they have come up with a structure. Hey, this is our submission guidelines. You go, this is your background. It has already given you the background. Our AI has already given you background. Then results. Now I will show you how to write results. And then you come up with your methods, how we use, blah, blah, blah. That also you have. What is the objective, right? And it has given you specific information on what you need to do. So once they have given you this information, you can use this AI or use the research idea, and then you can make progress. So at least when I was there in India, it used to take me 1 day to get IRB approval, right? Have an idea, get IRB approval ASAP, and then move on, right? So if you start with your IRB approval, you can write that in your methods, and I'll show you how. Now, let me give you some abstract ideas, right? Does everyone here know about Reddit? Has anyone
Yes.
used Reddit? Yes, you need to type.
Yes, definitely.
You have used Reddit, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
So let's ask a question. If patients had a bad experience with the physician, right? Is it possible that they would have mentioned about it on Reddit,
Definitely.
right? Now, to do any analysis on Reddit or to look at Reddit, do you need any IRB? Do you need any special permissions?
No, it's a public forum.
It's a
You
public
literally are
forum.
in the court of public opinion. There is no one to police what you're saying.
Exactly, right? So it is a public forum and it is an anonymous forum, right? So because it is anonymous, it is an expectation that patients are usually accurate and blah, blah, blah. Now, let me ask you a question. One of the things, this was ACR. ACR is one of very big conferences, and I think we had around 3,000 physicians who visit ACR, and we had around 1,000 abstracts. So now if you look at the title, Nutritional Discourse in Online Myositis Community, a Reddit analysis of patient-led discussion. Now, let me give you a little bit context. I know I told Manik I won't go to myositis, but I will tell you a little bit about it. Myositis is a muscle disease, right? So it is causing damage to your muscle. So if something is affecting your muscle, I want the group to answer this. And I give a nutritional recommendation. You have fat, carbohydrate, protein. Logically, what would you ask the patient to eat more of? Type in the chat. Nutritional advice. Protein. Protein, right? So I would say protein. Yeah, makes sense. Now, I didn't have to do a lot of literature review to understand that, hey, muscle is not working, muscle you have issue, please use protein, right? Now, let me ask a follow-up question. Is only nutrition good enough? Let's compare two things. A, I ask the patient to consume protein, and B, I ask the patient to do exercise, which would cause a significant impact for the patient to improve their muscle strength. Which is better, exercise or protein? Exercise. Both.
Exercise.
Which is
Exercise.
better?
Both.
Yes,
Both
exercise.
actually. Both actually. Both actually.
Both are good. I agree, both are good, but I asked better, right?
Exercise.
Protein after exercise. Yes. So exercise. So now the interesting thing is the right recommendation is exercise. But if you are feeling sick, if you don't have the energy to get up or etc., right? Because your muscles are being pulled and your muscle is being destroyed. So you would not want to do exercise. So in that case, better is at least consume protein. Right? Now that's what they've done. And now look at the key finding over here. Protein emerged as the center concept linking nutrition to clinical disease management in patient-led myositis discussions. Make sense? So that's one idea, right? Now this was just Reddit. So let us try to replicate what they have done. So let's go to Reddit. I do believe Reddit, and this is one of our people. So let's say myositis. So you see a myositis community over here, right? And you see what pictures they're giving you, right? So you can highlight that, hey, people are posting pictures, right? And you say, oh, this is interesting. Makes sense. And whatever nutritional discourse, you can highlight it. Now, Ruhi, you can go back and say that, hey, in hypothyroid or autoimmune condition, there are so many people who are complaining that doctors are not listening to us.
Yes.
You can do the analysis, right? So Reddit can be your tool. If you are a graduate, no access to data sets, you can still present research. This is very meaningful. Agreed? Now
Yeah,
let's go
definitely.
to the second idea, right? We see the second question is, okay, hey, Dr. Kaushik, you showed me how to write a protocol. You showed me that, okay, you can go to Reddit and come up with your answers, right? Now, can I submit without enrolling one patient also? Can I submit my protocol to a conference? Of course, yes. Even without enrolling one patient, the fact that you have gotten your IRB approval is enough to submit your paper to a conference. This is proof. This is an abstract that we submitted, an introduction to MyPacer registry, a direct to patient international myositis registry. If you look at the method, what have we done over here? In partnership with a company, we created a study specific mobile app in several languages. This app follows the GDPR laws and FDA guidelines for e-consenting. Through the app, interested participants will be able to undergo the study screening, e-consent, sign the HIPAA form, and join the study. Once participating individuals will provide patient reported outcomes in several domains and perform one physical activity, that is your sit to stand. Since PROs have been chosen based on the specific PROs have been chosen based on literature review of validated PROs. Right? This is your methods. Now look at the result. It has told what we are going to do. And in the result, the study protocol was approved by IRB at Pitt. The MyPacer group currently spans 16 countries. So before the launch of the app, patient partners will review the app. Upon launch of the app, patients will be informed about the study through Twitter, social media, etc. The study findings will be disseminated widely, ensuring broad visibility and accessibility within both medical and patient communities. We did not come up with any numbers. We just said that, hey, all the outcome, the only progress that we had made was getting IRB. When I say IRB, Ethics Committee. So that's it. And now, because it's a good conference, every conference will have a journal. They publish this in their journal. Yeah, you can take a protocol. Yeah, yes, exactly. That was my point, right? So you can take a protocol, publish it, submit to a conference and say you got IRB and you're going to start and what you're going to do, why it's important. That's it. You're done. As long as the study protocol is in line with what the conference cares about, you are good. SGIM cared about certain things, right, that we saw in their theme. So as long as you keep it to that theme, your protocol, your abstract will be accepted. Trust me, getting an abstract rejection should be almost impossible. You can write anything. Okay, I'm not going to say that, but it's very easy to get your abstract accepted. See, how to get it accepted, right? It is, how to get accepted by IRB? You just send them the protocol. You tell them that, hey, I am interested in doing the research. So for Reddit, you don't have to get an IRB approval. That idea was more for graduates or people who are not in medical school, don't have access to IRB. That would be a better ideas for them and topics for them. So basically studies that are yet to be conducted. Yes, studies that are yet to be conducted. Again, this is proof, evidence, right? We have not conducted it. From 2023 to now, we have not launched it. We have been launching it. We have not launched it fully. So that's the thing. So now, yeah.
I'm sorry, a question. Suppose
Yes.
you live in a place or you live in a country or you're studying in a medical school where there are no ethics committees or standardized protocols that suggest ethics ideas or protocols for patients. There is no one to take approval from. How do you proceed from there?
So I am not sure if that is a thing, because I could be wrong, but as far as I know, every medical school has to have an ethics board. Again, as far as I know. So if you don't have, there might be other institutions which can give you ethics committee approval. What you can potentially do is you can get approval from another medical school and conduct the research as a collaborator. So what
So
we did
bottom
was, yeah, go ahead.
bottom line is you need to, I'm sorry for interrupting you, sir. My point is you need to have an approval from any ethics committee, doesn't matter where, before you start on any patient focused research or any research of any kind to make sure that you're
Yes,
following protocols and stuff like that, right?
correct. Yes. Because again, no one is going to publish your work if you don't have ethics committee approval. See what we did. We have 16 countries in MyPacer registry. Who's the ethics committee on record? University of Pittsburgh. That's it. So based on University of Pittsburgh IRB, we are enrolling patients from other centers. So at least one ethics committee board should sit and say that, okay, does this research meet the ethical standards? I would recommend collaborating. It could be maybe reaching out to us or other people who can help you with the collaborative work, right? So next, this is the insight, right? So I hope that I cleared some myths that, okay, hey, even if I'm a graduate, there are types of work that you can lead, and you can also submit the protocol that we just generated to conferences. All you need to show some progress, right? So that is something that I can tell you, and they will be good with it. Now, what I do want to highlight is without. So when you say published abstract without completing the research, see, I will go to the match question that I will go, but I just want to highlight that it is important that you know that these avenues exist, right? And you should not say that, okay, research is impossible. Now, let us take a small break and let me ask the audience a question. All that we did so far, did you feel like research was fun and easy? If you agree, say yes.
Yes, definitely.
It's fun. Again, remember, it is fun. It has to be fun. Right? 100%. Yes. So I love that. See, that's the reason I love doing research. Right? So, anyways, now, so it's easy. Now we need to get outcomes, right? So I also showed you how to get your outcomes, right? Outcome in terms of, hey, submitting to a conference, presenting at centers or presenting at whatever places, and then highlighting the fact that your interest is in a particular area, right? So that is one part. Next, I do want to highlight my group is working on the two research papers. They are paper one is metabolic endoscopy in type 2 diabetes, a systematic review and meta-analysis. They are comparing the glycemic and metabolic outcomes in your standard medical therapy. And the second paper is about diagnostic accuracy of procalcitonin lactate and hepatic artery Doppler in atypical acute cholangitis, a systematic review and meta-analysis. Now, this is being led by one of the residents in the US, and they are going to submit the paper. So if I think we have 8 slots, with the 8 slots for people who are interested in it. So when I say 8 slots, it's not that, hey, I paid money and I got my name published, right? So he is gonna teach you on what to do, how to write, and you are going to work on it. And that's the research that we can provide you, right? Now, if you go to the submission guidelines, when we are going to submit to this particular conference, it is going to be submission requirement, conflict of interest, blah, blah, blah. So they are going to publish it in their journal. So they have a journal and they are going to publish it in their journal. I think, Manik, can you send the link, or can some person from my group send the link? We will share that link details. For people who are interested, I think we might have 8 slots in our group. So for people who are interested to join that. Next, I will show you what all you guys are waiting for. How to write this research work in my CV. That is your number one issue. Let's have another volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Can someone raise their hands? Okay, Aditya. Got it. So Aditya is a name I can see. Can you unmute?
Hello, sir.
Hello. So can you tell a little bit? Are you medical student, graduate? Where are we?
Yes, sir. I am a fourth year medical student from Vietnam. Actually, I am from India, but I am studying in Vietnam, government hospital.
Oh, my favorite mentor is from Vietnam. That's great. So I think what is that? Ho Cho Minh or something
Ho
she
Chi Minh.
told me. Yeah. Okay. Now let's read. Sorry.
I'm also in Ho Chi Minh.
Ah, that's nice. That's nice. They have an institute. She has a research institute there. Okay, let's read this CV. Okay. So I think everyone here, most of the people over here want to apply to residency. They want to match. I completely agree. Very, very noble task. Now, Aditya, let's read what is written in this CV, right? Research section. Engaged. Can you read?
Engaged. Yeah, engaged in a diverse portfolio of scholarly activities throughout medical school to build a foundation in clinical inquiry and evidence-based practice. Narrative case report followed a patient with POTS longitudinally for 2 years, conducting a literature review and authoring a 10,000-word narrative case report that was reviewed and graded by faculty. Global collaborative studies served as a local collaborator for a multi-centered study on cholecystectomy, ensuring that data integrity and accurate collection to meet recruitment targets. Quality improvement audit initiated a hospital-wide audit on oxygen therapy, screening over 300 patients across 10 wards and presenting a summary report to the lead respiratory consultant. Then the most meaningful was the last one.
Yes, please do. Please read.
The 2-year case report was one of the most formative experience. It pushed me to look beyond the clinical diagnosis and really understand the patient history. Exploring their psychological, social, and physical journey gave me more insight into longitudinal care than any textbook ever could.
So now, if you look at what is important in a CV, it is not that, hey, I just did research, right? I did something for a long period of time. That is more important in your CV. And it is not about having 10 different papers. And Iras also has come up with that very nice section. I like that thing very well, saying that, hey, please tell us what was meaningful about your research. What did you learn from it and what was your role? If you look at what this applicant did, so we helped her, I mentored her to craft this CV for herself. So basically what she has done over here is she has just done one case report. That's it. I told her, okay, tell me about that case report. What did you learn? Why did you do it? Why did they make you follow up for 2 years? Now I know that in India, they are making medical students follow patients for 5 years, right? Or whatever, adopt a patient, something, right? They have different initiatives. So those are things that you can list in your CV, right? And then when you say global collaborative work, let's say you work with one of our group or anyone else in collaborative research, right? If all you do is just enroll patients, you say that, okay, hey, I will help this group enroll 5 patients, right? You're good to go. You fit this criteria, right?
Yes.
You said that, hey, you were responsible for data integrity and meeting the recruitment targets, which is very important, right? And quality improvement audit, let's say as an intern, right? I'm pretty sure in most of the Southeast Asian countries, you have a lot of big patient load. If you create a report, that is also scholarly activity, right? So not everything needs to be in publication. As a research experience, you can highlight certain things, right? That what a PD is looking for. Think about it. What I would look for in a candidate, right? Someone who has sustained interest, not interest in research that popped up in August when the application is in September, right? Does it make sense? Does
Yes,
it make
yes.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I like to tell medical students or even graduates is, hey, don't keep your CV very cluttered here and there. If you look at what I have done or my work, I started with tuberculosis. Why? Because my mentor was interested in TB, right? So it was not my choice. He was the only one who was ready to take me as a student. Right? Then I was like, okay, once my mentor was interested in TB work, then I learned from him. Then I got to pick the topics. So initially it was, okay, hey, I'm okay with whatever they're teaching me because I have to learn. Second thing is I picked my topic and I picked my niche that I was interested in, and that is rare disease, right? So I was like, okay, hey, now in rare disease, what is important? I'm going to highlight those. Right? So that is something that I learned. So in a CV, if you are asking in my research section, what should I do, Dr. Kaushik, right? I will tell you very simple thing. Find something that you are interested in. Number one. Once you know that you are interested in it, then you work on it and show them that you are going to constantly work on it. That will give you significant dividends. It will be much easier to work and show that you are genuinely interested in research, right? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. Sir, but
Okay.
like
Yeah.
I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
ask, does the narrative case works actually make any weightage in the residency applications?
So let me show you. I think that is a better thing. Now, like a case report, right? So
Yeah.
ISDA guidelines for AMB and 5FC in invasive candidiasis, right? See, what does this tell you? ISDA is International Society for Infectious Disease, whatever they have their society. So ISDA guidelines recommend echinocandin or amphotericin B as amphotericin B 5FC in candidiasis, right? They are saying it is not a standard first line, but it can be used. It should not be used alone, but it should be used with combination, right? So though, if you look at the 5FC, flucytosine, and amphotericin B, do you know what data the ISDA guidelines is based on for this? 4 case reports. That's it. So you can change guidelines if you do it properly, right? So clinical practice guidelines over here for invasive candidiasis, this. And this is a fact. Then they will tell you that, hey, for this guidelines, what is our level of confidence? Less. It doesn't matter. There is no other data, right? So that's how it works. So if you ask me case report, I will tell you, yeah, it's important. It just depends on what topic you pick and how important that topic is. Does it make
So,
sense?
like more in detail, like what type of QI projects are most valued by the residency programs?
Okay, let me give. So QA project can be, what I will do is I'll make a list and I will send that to you. And I can show you another example, right? So let me show this to you. I will stick to what I know, that is and infectious disease. So in here, if you look at, this is my project, my PACER study. This is the one that I'm leading. And I will show you interesting insight, right? So we go with butterfly rash, right? Then you have a shawl sign in dermatomyositis. Then you have a heliotrope rash. Then you have V-neck sign, right? And you have Cotran's right? Now, in one of the tools that is called CDASI, I think, let me pull that up. So CDASI is like how we were discussing, right? Questionnaires and stuff. In CDASI, you are measuring two things, something called disease activity and damage score. Okay, disease activity is a component that you are measuring, and you are measuring erythema. Okay, it's a very important concept in CDASI. Now let's go to this. What can you see? What is the color of the patient over here?
White,
White,
white
right?
population. Yeah.
Now let's go to this, white. Now remember what we said, erythema, right? Now you see Reddit over here. And what do you see? Do you see
Black.
erythema?
Yeah.
Some erythema. Now, how can you tell me the grading of erythema over here? Quite hard, no?
Yeah, the
We can't,
grading is hard to see in
like,
patients of color.
yes,
Exactly.
sir.
So now you have whatever erythema. Now this is classic case of dermatomyositis. Would you guys agree from what I showed you? So you have the V sign,
Yes.
you have rash, you have a classic heliotrope, correct?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. If even it is very easy to grade this based on just erythema alone compared to this, right? Now, if I were a medical student, right, I would say, okay, brown patient, take a brown patient who has dermatomyositis, go to two dermatologists and show picture and say that, okay, can you grade erythema based on CDA, right? And highlight the fact that, hey, the patient is having this level. Two dermatologists are giving two different grading. So it is not captured well enough in this different population. So just pick the context. The simplest way is pick studies which are done in the West. They have very good protocols. Just change the study population into your study population and you're done. QA projects and use the tool that I gave you saying that, hey, this is interesting, blah, 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 and let's prioritize that. Does it make sense? So now
Yes, it does. I want to
yes,
ask you one thing.
yes.
This regarding the cohort, the 4th week
Mhm.
cohort. How about, can you brief me something about? Is it like you're gonna give the topic, or is our topic, or is just a, how it's
Okay,
going?
so
What are the?
for our programs, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna come here. So here we have different types of research programs that we run. One thing is if you have access to our software plus my guide, and I'm going to create like courses with it, and I'm gonna tell you for now, if you want to enroll in that is $49. What will you get? You will get the instructions that I've created for it. You create your protocol and we are going to review whatever protocol that you have given, and then I'm going to comment on the protocol, right? That is the abstract writing. Hopefully you will be able to submit. Second thing is this is our meaningful research. To me, if you are very serious about learning research, it is very important to have a mentor, A, who knows research, right? B, who's interested in research, and C, has the time and the dedicated effort to teach you research. Now, if you are going for residency application and you say that, hey, I want to get into competitive specialties, let's say surgery, plastic surgery, whatever, right? Now internal medicine is also becoming competitive. So you need to come up with a story about why you're doing particular research, and then how you're going to stand out. So that in that, what I feel is important is this is a 1 year commitment, right, from you and from me, where I'm going to teach you narrative review and your meta-analysis, and I'm going to make you do a retrospective study and prospective study. And it will obviously take a year and dedicated effort where you're giving at least 4 hours of effort a week. Now, this I've been very successful with my high school students. All of them are very happy. And what I have noticed in them is if I ask them to come and give you guys a presentation, you can ask any question, they will be able to answer. So that is what I mean when I say that, okay, research takes time. Now, when you say, okay, the third program, right? This is the $200 one. We'll have 1 month. We have workshops. Plus, we will help you with coming up with a topic, and we will guide you to how to write. And since we might not be able to do the retrospective and prospective studies, this will predominantly be reviews or meta-analysis or systematic reviews. So that is what it's going to be, and you'll be in a group of around 5-6 people based on what we are looking at, and you will get, hope in ideal scenario, you will get your publication within around 2.5 months. So that is an expected timeline. So those are the three different programs that we have. And for the $49, see, I really do want to make research accessible. If I don't pay the mentors, they don't show interest. That is also a thing. So yeah, it is something that I feel research should be accessible. So I think what I have also noticed is it is also a commitment from the student, right? That, hey, I am going to dedicate time towards it and I'm going to take it seriously. So these are our
One,
three
thank you
different
so
programs.
much.
Yeah.
So program 3, which is
Mhm.
201, also has an access to the software, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Has
And we are
access
gonna
to this.
and we have our own topics, right? Like the one
Yes.
which you are interested in.